Presented by The Hockey Shop, source for sports Surrey, thehockeyshop.com. This is In Goal Radio, the podcast. Hi, everybody. I'm Darren Millard, along with the co-founders of In Goal Magazine, David Hutchison, looking svelte, ready for Christmas, and Kevin Woodley, wired like you would not believe, because we have a great show for you today. We're going to visit The Hockey Shop, thehockeyshop.com, source for sports Surrey, hang out with Cam, talk a little pants action. We play dress up in the goalie utopia. That's what we're going to do today. Is our gear segment revolves around the CCM Access pants, and our feature interview, brought to you by Sense Arena VR, is a Hockey Hall of Famer and one of Hutch and I's early idols. It's Bernie Parent, and we've been kind of lurking in the shadows, just hanging out, putting out feelers every now and then to see when we could talk to Bernie. And on episode 99, we get Bernie Parent. Hutch,
how excited were we to get on with Bernie? And I think what's a 99 plus, we got to get to the summer with maybe 30. I think we're going to have about episode 140, 150 live streamed from Bernie's fishing boat too. Right?
Right.
I mean, what greatest guy on the planet. 2 minutes into the interview, not even into the interview, and he's invited us to go fishing on his boat in Jersey. So pretty excited. And I remember where I was when they won their first cup, and I've always been a fan of his, and almost from the day we started the pod, we started putting the feelers out, like you said, and super excited that we were able to make it happen. And as one of the guys around episode 100, I think it's really fitting that we've got a Hall of Famer here. I think it's now our second Hall of Famer on the show after we had Glenn Hall a couple summers ago as well. Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation. Stick around for it because we talk about his early days as a goaltender, and he is a fantastic storyteller. We go through the Stanley Cup days, who kind of got him back on the path and righted the ship for him as a goaltender. And then we kind of touch on the alumni game and talk about an awesome story there when he stepped on the ice for the outdoor game against the New York Rangers. So we're looking forward to that. We also want to talk about Source for Sports Surrey, the Hockey Shop, thehockeyshop.com, as they complete the stretch drive up to Christmas.
Yeah, it's probably a little late to get Christmas gifts unless you actually live here in Vancouver. By the time you hear this, you will be into panic mode as a Christmas shopping goaltender or shopping for a goaltender. So unless you're in Vancouver, probably going to be too late for orders, but it's never too soon to start looking for Boxing Day savings. And there's going to be some big ones at the Hockey Shop and thehockeyshop.com. There'll be big discounts across the board on lots of different items, but a couple in particular right off the hop. There's going to be big savings on the Bauer Supreme 2S Pro chest protector, a model that we've tested and really like for its combination of protection, fit, in terms of the way it fills out the net. And once you get it broken in after a couple skates, mobility as well. And the other big one, how about this? eFlex 4.5 senior pads. Buy the leg pads, get the glove and blocker for free. Dun, dun, dun. That's a pretty big savings. There's going to be lots more, so make sure you check out the Hockey Shop, source for sports, and thehockeyshop.com. Boxing Day sale. Perfect place. Like, make sure when you set up for Boxing Day and the World Juniors being on TV and finally a taste of live hockey, both in Canada on TSN and in the States on the NHL Network, bring your laptop with you. Go to thehockeyshop.com. Save some money while you watch hockey. I can't think of a better way to spend Boxing Day. Curled up on the couch, definitely wearing pajamas with an elastic waistband after the big turkey dinner the night before. Watching hockey and saving on goalie gear. No better place to do it than the Hockey Shop, source for sports, and thehockeyshop.com.
I don't know whether your ears were burning earlier today, but the goaltender that plays at the other end when I skate, Dusty, took a couple of hard ones up high and was just vicious about his upper body equipment, how it's just broken down, worn down, it's old. And I said, go to In Goal Magazine, check out the gear reviews and watch Two Guys in Chesties with Woodley and Cam. And he was like, Two Guys in Chesties? So I filled him in on everything. And that's what he was going to do after our skate, to get all the gear review, because he was talking about how the problem, what's held him back lately from getting a new upper body piece was it was so stiff that you have to squirt the water with a straight arm. Remember we were talking about the coffee test about being able to lift a cup? I said, you got to watch Woody and Cam. It's outstanding. So really, that is awesome what you guys are doing with the gear reviews and the gear segments on In Goal Radio, the podcast. But being able to have that conversation with somebody made me feel a lot smarter and a little more useful.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good to know because as much as it was your idea and it was a great idea to, just casually drink coffee or water or whatever while wearing the chest to show that we could do it. The truth is, most of the time we could see that range of motion because Cam was just like scratching something, his ear or his head or whatever. Like the guy's, I don't know, we might need to give him some anti-dandruff shampoo or something. He's always scratching. That
probably
guy.
his
So
ear
make
in
sure you check out. Yeah, make sure you check him out in particular. Check out Cam. All those reviews are available on our YouTube channel. They're attached to these episodes of the podcast. If you go to the page on ingolmag.com and scroll down, you'll have each week's segment, the video simulcast, as I call it, IGTV, YouTube. Check it out. We have a lot of fun making fun of Cam. I might be the brunt of a few jokes myself, but we have a good time and we educate you on gear as well. So I'm glad to hear it actually paid off for somebody, Darren.
I have a real life question coming up after today's gear segment when you guys look at the Axis pants. And it was Hutch that turned me on to this, and I'm really curious about it. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Remember it was a couple of weeks ago when the Pro Return sticks were in and the Henrik Lundqvist twigs were available, and we were all gaga over being able to potentially use one of those sticks with that grip. Little did we know that Henrik Lundqvist sticks weren't going to be used at all in this upcoming season. Opting out because of the heart ailment, unable to play with the Washington Capitals. That story broke right after we taped last week's episode. Now, a week later, we must dive into what or, if any, reaction the Washington Capitals will have, Woody, to Henrik Lundqvist not being available.
And first off, just obviously, like the entire hockey world, our thoughts go out to Henrik and his family, and as they try and get through this time, that was such big news. The podcast last week had already been recorded and already been uploaded. It was done, but that news broke literally an hour afterwards, and you almost felt like you almost needed to redo it, right? Like it was that big of a bombshell, and not just because he's a superstar, but for us, I think because of the person and because of how good he's been to us over the years as a person, so kind, so charitable with his time, answering emails in the off season. Like he has been so good to us, not just when he first got started, but as he became a superstar in the NHL and a guy we all cheered for just because of his intensity, his passion for the game. But he shared that passion for the position, whether it was talking about the sticks and why he had that grip. First time, I think we had one of the first interviews with him on the Lundqvist loop. Like think about that little heel loop behind your skate and running your bootstrap through there. Like that's like a go-to that every goalie knows now. But I remember way back in like 2012 talking to him, might have even been earlier, and having him explain it to us in the first time I'd ever seen it anywhere, first time I'd ever seen it explained, and taking the time to really walk us through the whys and how he did it and why he did it. And I got the date wrong. I think it's actually well before then. It's when they cut down the top of the pads. Anyways, so yeah, just thinking about him and hoping we get a chance to see him again. And in the meantime, for the Caps, I'm really fascinated to see which way this goes. They've got a team full of veterans. They're not that far removed from a Stanley Cup. They want to compete. So you would think that they might look at some of the names that are out there. Obviously, Ryan Miller, we think will stay in California, but Craig Anderson, Jimmy Howard, guys with NHL experience. But I mean, they're not Henrik Lundqvist, right? And, I do know from the goalie coaching department side of things that there was I wouldn't say a push, but there was a thought, and it was shared with management that, hey, I really think we could go into this season with Ilya Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek and Phoenix Copley as our goalies. And obviously that changed when Henrik became available and willing to play on a $1.5 million ticket. But if it's not Henrik Lundqvist, a guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, does that conversation now carry more weight in terms of, we're good? We don't necessarily need that veteran. So fascinating because the team dynamic plays a lot into that, and it'll be interesting to see, which way they go based on input from both the goalie department and ultimately what management thinks this team needs. And I just think that a lot of people out there assume it's a slam dunk. They got to have a veteran presence. And I think maybe that underestimates some of the young talent or some of the talent they have behind Ilya Samsonov on that team as well.
Do you see, before Hutch jumps in here, do you see signing a free agent if they do go that other direction, or a trade?
Trades are harder because they don't have the cap space to handle. Like, that's what made Lundqvist work in Washington. They were capped out, and he was willing to play on a team he thought could be competitive and kept him geographically close to New York. My understanding is, as he was skating all that time here in the lead up, the weeks before this announcement, he was commuting back and forth. So he was able to do that in Washington, right? And willing to sign at that price. You can't go out and trade for a $4 million goaltender in Washington because they just don't have the cap space. So that makes it tougher, at least now. Maybe at the deadline, this is a different conversation. But right now, I think it's more of a, like the options that are out there, and they're good options. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm actually a big Jimmy Howard fan, and I think there's still something there. We've talked about Craig Anderson and how incredibly he reads the game. One of the best in the league at that. Ryan Miller, like I said, I think ends up in California with the Ducks still. But it's just, I just know that there was that thought process within the goalie department even before Lundqvist signed, that we have the horses to do this internally. We don't necessarily need to make a signing. So it's not a slam dunk.
I'd love to see them, Hutch, go with 2 kids, just to take me back to the Fuhrer and Moog days, and just having a great team and riding 2 kids.
I think it'd be awesome if they went with a couple of kids. But I mean, even if they do that, as we were talking about earlier, depth is going to be so incredibly important this year, isn't it? And so somebody has to join the organization, and because they've got to fill those spots, whether they're carrying 3 guys at the NHL level, possibly 4, as they're able to do now with the taxi squad. Somebody's going to have to go in there, and I'm fascinated to see who it is. My betting would be that it ends up being a veteran. It's one of those moves where, you bring a kid in, if it doesn't go well, they're going to criticize you for not making a move. If you bring a veteran in, at least it's sort of a safe play. And you've certainly got that experience in the locker room as well to help the young guy who's taking over this year. So that's my bet, but it's going to be fascinating to see what happens there. And then, a couple other teams, as we said, we're expecting Anaheim will have Ryan Miller back. We're expecting to see Corey Schneider land on the island, but these things haven't happened yet. So we've still got some interesting times ahead of us, guys.
Yeah, 2 kids right now in Washington, and Phoenix Copley, the guy that has played in the National Hockey League before, but didn't at all last year. We'll see what direction they go, and what direction teams go in when it comes to training camp this year. We know it's going to be a 56-game schedule, slated to start on January 13th. Training camps are open to 36 skaters and unlimited goaltenders. But when it comes time to launch the season on January 13th, teams are allowed maximum 23 players on the roster, and then a 4 to 6 player taxi squad. You are required at least 3 goaltenders on the roster. You can have more. Where do you think teams are leaning to right now, Woody?
Well, to me, this is going to be interesting because it's going to depend on cap space. You could have 3 actually on your NHL roster and another guy on the taxi squad, or you could just bury a guy on the taxi squad and have him still be a part of the team and have him be an option. We've talked for a long time about the need for 3 goaltenders during this type of condensed season either way. To me, it's more, the fascinating thing is, how they construct these taxi squads, but who they use, right? Like, which guy ends up, do you take, if you've got a number 3 in your organization who's got NHL experience, let's use Edmonton, for example. They sign Anton Forsberg, who's got a little bit of experience in the NHL. They signed him as their number 3 this summer. Do you have him stay in Edmonton on your taxi squad because he's been around a lot longer? Maybe he's been in a backup role before. Maybe he doesn't need to play as often to feel as fresh. He knows how to be a pro in a practice situation. You keep him and you send your Stuart Skinners and your Olivier Rodrigues, your younger prospects to the minors to make sure they get to play? Or do you go the other way, where you let your number 3 go to the AHL, knowing that you've got a border to cross and quarantines to satisfy if you actually need him, and you have the young guy around your NHL team, have him around those other pro habits, have him around your NHL goalie coach on a day in, day out basis, working with him, getting the extra reps. And I think, for example, in Edmonton with the Forsberg signing, he's perfect for that. But I do know other teams, and I'll give you another example, Vancouver. They don't have that number. They didn't sign, and there's a few teams like this. They didn't sign that third guy. They didn't sign your Dustin Tokarski or your Antoine Bibeau to sort of be that pivot guy that if you need in the NHL, they've got some experience there. You don't have to worry about them. Are they going to sign a guy like that? Or do they look at it and say, well, Michael DiPietro, is he better served working with Ian Clark for the whole season, or does he need to play? I think he needs to play. So what's your other options? Maybe it's an Artur Silovs, who right now is on loan over in Europe, playing against men, having a lot of success, just a first-year pro. But if you're Ian Clark, would you rather? I think he would rather work with the Silovs in that number 3 role on a day-in, day-out basis than say go, find a number 3 journeyman who's not going to be part of your organization long-term and work on him as a project and sort of, spend all that time for a in case of emergency break glass project versus I'm going to invest this time in someone who's going to be part of our organization for a long time. So I'm fascinated. I don't have the answer. I think in some cases, the goalie coach's opinion may not match what management ends up doing. And so it'll be fascinating to see how this all plays out.
Hutch, just a point here. Vancouver ended up having to bring in another goaltender in the bubble. I wonder if that situation and having to go to the extreme and quarantine and down the line, knowing that their American Hockey League affiliate is in the United States and crossing the border and the headache. I wonder if that just those semantics of going through that physically makes you want to keep 4 goaltenders up during the season.
I think we could see that with the Canadian teams for sure. Mm-hmm. And for those folks who are listening to this and don't live in Canada, might not even be aware that to travel into Canada, you have to quarantine before you could join the team. We're not quite sure what that period would be with testing available, but we're expecting it's a lot harder to join a Canadian team from an American farm team than to simply stay in the States and go to your team there.
Which is why the whole Canadian division thing is up.
Exactly. Exactly. I almost wonder whether they ever discussed having American League teams up in Canada just for that reason.
They did, just so you know. They did, yeah. But it was the Vancouver situation
financially
just didn't make sense financially. Too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because Winnipeg is a big advantage. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, the 4 teams Middle East all have their American Hockey League teams right there. But Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver have that border issue.
Yeah, they do for sure. And and we know you can get down to number 3 pretty quick, can't you?
Right.
And you're not going to be calling up the guy from University of British Columbia because they're not playing either.
Call Woody.
Yeah, call Woody. Woody, unlimited goalies, unlimited goals. Woody's in.
I got the message. No e-bugs. All teams must travel with 3 goaltenders. So the e-bug thing is taking a pass on this season.
That's for one game. Yeah. Well, for one game, it takes one injury and everything changes, right? Like you're on a road trip and one guy goes down, all of a sudden you need a third. Can't bring him in across the border for some of these teams.
But all teams will have to travel with at least 3. And then the question is, do you carry 4?
Yeah, and I'm just saying you could end up, as soon as one of those guys is hurt, you need an e-bug in the building, don't you? Despite what they're saying. But I'll tell you one thing, Darren, you talked about kids in Washington. This is going to benefit the kids in some way, isn't it? I mean, either you're going to be that young prospect who gets up with an NHL team, what an awesome opportunity, what an exciting development opportunity for them. Or you're that number 4 guy who suddenly gets more games in the American League than you would have otherwise. Maybe guys, the Canucks leave Mikey DiPietro down in the American League, but now there's even less reason for him to share games with somebody else. So he's getting more experience one way or the other. Whoever we might be talking about, it's a really neat time for the young guys.
Notice how quiet Woody's been since we squashed his dream of being an e-bug.
That's okay.
I don't think it's squashed. Clarkie's got his number, so anything could happen.
Much like every shooter in every league I've ever played in, he has my number. No, but I as much as you're right, Hutch, that emergency situation could come up in a hurry. Clearly the goal and the plan here is to do everything in their power. They're going to try and keep this as tight as you can. And there's no way you want some Joe walking off the street without multiple days of testing to introduce him to a locker room and a bubble and an environment that is being, it may not be a formal bubble, but these guys, for all intents and purposes, are going to live in a bubble throughout this season. But
at least you're in the press box.
Maybe.
At least,
maybe.
So they know you sanitized your hands coming in the building at least.
I'm not sure I'm letting Woody anywhere near my roster or my press box. He can wait in the Audi in the parkade.
Probably having a nap between morning skate and the games in my Audi and my parkade. Other people are like, look at the homeless guy sleeping in the Audi.
Hey,
it's
you and I have that in common, where we both had like slept in our car a ton and can do it no problem. You too, Hutch?
Oh, guys, you can't follow your kids into the rink anymore. So I'm getting a lot of naps.
It's all about learning how to. It's like that ad with Ricky Fowler. How far do I recline for the ultimate sleeping angle?
Parents, you'll love this because I used to bounce back and forth. Is the back seat the way to go and just throw your feet over the front, or do you use the recline on the front seat? And I finally came to the conclusion that the front seat's the way to go. We'll sit up and take notice here that we have Bernie Perrant coming up in our feature interview presented by Sense Arena VR. That's coming up in just a little bit. But first, a visit out to the Hockey Shop, thehockeyshop.com, source for sports Surrey. We are playing dress up today as we look at the Axis pants. Let's bring in Woody, who's standing by with Cam. Gentlemen.
Welcome back to the Hockey Shop, source for sports here in beautiful Surrey, British Columbia, the outskirts of Vancouver, suburbia as I like to call it, and actually more particular, we're in goalie utopia, the bottom floor here at the Hockey Shop, which is all about goaltenders, surrounded on all sides by the latest, the greatest, the new equipment. And we're here with Cam Matwiv, who's going to walk us through today. We've done the CCM Axis chest protector a few weeks back. Time to look at the pants, time to look at how the pants integrate into the chest protector. Time to cover off all those things with Cam Matwiv, who is wearing the pants.
Yes.
We made him wear things this week because I was getting a little hot and bothered with all the equipment on and the temperature up. Needless to say, yeah, he dropped the temperature for himself this week. How you feeling in those pants right about now?
I feel great. Comfortable.
Okay, CCM Axis pants. Walk me through. Does this follow the Premier line? What are some of the features that you're hearing back from goalies they love the most? What makes this pant stand out compared to others?
So continuing on the theme of evolution and consolidating lines that we've seen from Bauer, for example, CCM's gone and sandwiched actually the E-Flex pant and the Premier pant together to create this pant, which, to be honest, really those two pants were basically identical from what was the waist down. What made the difference of those two pants is that the Shield pant, the E-Flex 2 pant, had a bit more of a segmented waist in particular, making it a little bit softer, easier for it to wrap around the belly. But other than that, the lower half of the pant was basically identical to Premier. So
some of us need a little help wrapping around the belly more than others these days.
Well, there you go. So hop on that Peloton and then we'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
That said, for overall what's changed and how they integrated the two pants together in particular, the biggest call out has to be the segmentation of their hip flaps, like we'll call it waist flaps in particular. So creating more flexibility in the pant while also adding an addition of protection itself. I'm talking a little bit lower down the pant, just above on your thigh barrel here. So we see them calling out their D3O material, which they've used in the past. But before, it used to be basically a flap, one single flap that kind of came over top of that thigh. Now we see segmentation all the way through just to create more flexibility in the pant, allowing the pant to have that easier bend forward. One of the things that I had noticed about CCM pants is that when you do get them a little bit more cinched up, it's a little bit hard to, bend over, tie your skates, things like that. Here, I don't have that same restriction with the pant. It really allows a forward bend to the pant right off the bat.
So a little more forward flex. If you're getting into that low, wide, locked-in stance as the shot's about to come, you're not going to have any resistance from the front of this pant. Segmented also means you're probably, like, the protection's going to sort of stay together, so to speak, like as opposed to potentially sliding up. And D3O right in that segmentation in front of sort of over top of the front of your hips, which is an area where you can pucks tend to find seams there.
Correct. Yeah. It's one of those things that actually you can even visually see on the pant itself.
Visual. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. Visuals are always good.
And there's that telltale orange.
Exactly. And one of the things of you seeing that you flip it up in terms of how they've attached it to the pant itself, those are actually elastic attachment point in particular on the pant itself. What that'll give to it, it helps to anchor the actual protection for it. So one of the things you did notice too is that protection would actually like flip up on some of the Premier pants.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And for those that have worn those Premier pants, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. What this will do is it'll help to keep it in front, and they've also cut it so it goes lower and has a bit of that double coverage. So we're not as worried about that, separation shot, basically, we'd call it.
I was going to say double coverage when you're looking at a goalie in his stance and the pads and the blocker are covering the same thing, or the glove and the chest protector are covering the same thing. Double coverage in that case, not a good thing. Double coverage in this case, in terms of, the top of the thigh and some sensitive spots, absolutely a good thing. And especially when it's got the added layer, we'll call it triple coverage of a D3O. Exactly.
So starting with the lower portion of the pant, to be honest, hasn't changed a whole bunch, but it didn't need to. This is still falls in line with their 10-inch wide barrel. They haven't messed with any of their sizing or anything like that.
They haven't cranked us down to 9-inch NHL max width, make you smaller at other levels sizing.
That's correct.
We know I'm a big fan of this.
Yes, so you still get max coverage out of the pant, and it still maintains that barrel cut of the pant in particular, which CCM pants have been known for. As we move up and past the segmentation that we've already covered, you get into the upper waist portion of the pant itself. One of the things that I have found on the Axis pant is that they've extended the actual waist portion of the pant. So you get a little bit more wrap if you don't tuck in the chest. Once you cinch it up, it will wrap around your body quite nicely. However, for those of us that tuck in, it helps with that integration and stops that chest from flowing out when you are moving around.
So if you tend to, I don't know, like me, end up like flopping around like a fish out of water, that's when you tend to, if you do tuck, that's when things start to come apart.
Yes,
you're gonna have a little.
Yes, things fall apart very quickly when you're in net, Kevin.
That's true. Again, things my beer league teammates would tell you. But in this case, at least you're, in terms of that pant chest integration, that's more likely to stay together.
Exactly.
I may fall apart, but my pants and my chest.
But you're protected. Exactly. So one of the things, again, continuing forward, that CCM's been known for, that internal belt. Always a great feature. Again, looking for that a little bit of a snugger fit, but without losing coverage for the overall pant itself. They've also continued on, in particular, with their inch waist drop system, which is just a zipper that follows the perimeter of the pant itself. Once again, we have a nice visual call out for Kevin, who likes his visuals.
Big fan of the visuals.
Kids that are growing, needing a bit of a custom fit for your pant, this is a great feature. Again, just will allow the pant to drop an extra inch on the entire body itself without sacrificing any protection.
So again, and we talked about it, kids that are growing, goalies that are maybe in between sizes, aren't sure if they want it longer or narrower. That simple system that you just unzip the zipper and the pant drops an extra inch, and you've got a little bit of a longer fitting pant. Again, for parents who've got growing kids and are worried about them going through multiple sizes in a season, always nice to have that extra inch. It's that, we talked about it with the Bauer unit. They have a similar philosophy without the zipper, more of a Velcro setup. But that concept, always nice as a parent when your goalie is growing. Not so nice when they do it multiple times in a season and through different sizes. So at least this way you get a little bit of extra length in the legs. Other features on this pant, Cam?
Some other quick callouts, just on the inside of the thigh itself. The actual removable Velcro pads.
Little extra protection on the inside, blocks of Velcro inside of the thighs as well. Help close that 5-hole a little bit.
Yeah, we'll call it not necessarily extra protection, because you don't necessarily need it in that area. But what I do find, again, for what you called out there, assistance in closing that 5-hole, or as well as kind of centering the leg inside the pant itself. Personally speaking, wearing a bigger set of knee pads, I find it's too much, so I take these out right away, so I still get that loose feel that I'm kind of looking for inside the pant. But,
well, and again, because not everybody's the same. Some people want a smaller knee pad, some people want a bigger one. Again, the option here to remove that padding so that you, no matter what you wear, you're going to find a comfortable fit in terms of the integration between your pant and your knee pad.
You get your custom fit for the pant, which is the most important thing. One more quick call out for the pant, which often gets glossed over, and it's been a feature on CCM pants for quite a long time.
Now, hold on here. Ding, ding. Folks, you're going to learn something new on the In Goal Radio podcast. And I got to be honest, as a guy who's been a long time sort of premier pant and premier chest protector guy, even I was not aware of this until Cam brought it up today. So after years of wearing it and not knowing why it was there, Cam is going to educate and enlighten us on the buckle clip on the inside of the inner belt.
Yes. So for those that are listening, if you're familiar with a Premier pant, you've always seen on the internal belt 2 plastic clips that actually snap together.
And for those of you who are listening to the podcast right now and can't quite picture it, make sure you check out the simulcast that we'll have on all our social media channels and on the page at ingoalmag.com that will, in addition to the podcast, show off the simulcast video of this. We'll highlight it.
So what we're saying is watch the video.
Yeah, do both. Listen, watch the video.
So what it will actually do, beyond centering the belt inside the pant, it's not quite for, it's actually an integration between this and a CCM chest feature itself, which happens to be a strap on the side of the chest. So that this will allow you to tuck in the chest, snap it in, keep it together, and again, not having that use of the suspenders in particular. So this came about when suspenders were supposed to be outlawed kind of in the NHL, and they needed another way for those guys to tuck in particular without having to use suspenders. Now that that's a little bit, it's not as common, it's not as big of a deal anymore. You don't see it as much, but that feature has still remained on CCM pants, and it's something that often gets glossed over quite easily.
Okay, so now here's the thing. I always assume, because that loop, that clip loop wraps around the inner belt, I always thought it was part of the inner belt. I did not realize for all these years that it was actually designed. And again, I don't tuck my chest protector, so maybe not for me, but a really good feature for other people who want a little more of that connected feeling and that integration. And as we already established, I tend to fall all over the place and things come apart. This will help the pants and the chest protector remain connected. Now, for those of you who heard that little bit of background noise, I apologize. The hockey shop is a constant work in progress. There is no rest at the top of the mountain. They are doing renovations upstairs to the stick racks, and a little bit of that noise has crept in down here. I kind of look at it like this, like it's kind of like having players on your team. It's a necessary evil. They always screw things up for us, the players, but we got to have them. So this is us. Down here in Goalie Utopia, it's relatively quiet, but up there, they're making a racket before the doors open because they've got, again, always looking to improve. So I guess we can live with that. If the players are happy, does it mean they'll back check for us, Cam?
Maybe.
Probably not, eh? Probably because we chirped them on podcasts. All right, Cam, Axis Pant, great job walking it through. Remember, folks, the simulcast video, you'll be able to check this out. Have a little footage showing you the pant up tight and showing how it integrates with that chest protector. Both the E-Flex Shield and the Axis and old Premier chest protectors all have that loop to integrate into this belt that's on the Axis pant. So even if you're in a different model chest protector, that buckle loop we just talked about can be a way to integrate. You learn something new every day. That's why we come to the Hockey Shop Source for Sports and thehockeyshop.com for all our gear needs. Easy for me to say. And that's why you should call Cam if you have any questions about your gear needs. Cam, where can they get you?
604-589-8299.
The international number is right here, thanks to our friend and producer, David Hutchison, working his magic, and my magnificent Vanna White. The 1-800 number is right here. For those that are listening on the podcast, they think I'm an idiot, which is kind of nothing new. All right, folks, from the Hockey Shop Source for Sports here in Surrey and Goalie Utopia, I'm Kevin, he's Cam. We'll talk to you next week.
So hold on. I got a question for you. But before we get into my real life hockey question, Woody, what that little thing at the end about the stick rack upstairs and the noise, and was that your way of telling them to be quiet without trying to be the guy that's yelling, "Hey, we're trying to record down here"?
Yeah, pretty much. There was no vacuum at least this time. That's the problem. We go in there before the store closes. So, but they've done a whole bunch of renovations up there. It looks great, to be honest. Looks great.
Yeah.
But and also just trying to make sure the store flows in terms of, hey, we're in different times, right? So you need to be able to, can't have everyone crammed into certain spaces. There's a nice sort of flow to it that allows...
Can't have a bottleneck, right?
Yeah, allows everyone to sort of maintain their distance and still have a good shopping experience. So as usual, they are trying to find ways to make things better, just like Cam does down in Goal Utopia. And I got to say, pants are not just pants anymore. These last 2 weeks, that Vaughn pant with the 9-inch barrel max, NHL regs compared to the Axis pant this week with an inner belt that Vaughn didn't have and a much wider sort of profile. Do you want NHL spec or do you want to sort of look bigger? And Like, these are decisions that, based on what companies do with their retail product. Is it going to be NHL spec? Is it not? Like, as a consumer, I want to know those things. So a pant is not just a pant. There are lots of different options these days. So thanks to Cam for walking me through them. And obviously I have a bias because that Axis pant is an extension of the Premier pant that I wear. And Hutch knows I like me some inner belts.
I think next week we might be skipping the major brand manufacturers and doing a turkey pant episode.
This is the advantage. You notice when you watch a simulcast, I'm always in like the double XLs. Like, this is the advantage also of the belts and internal belts can be loosened.
So the Vaughn pant had me thinking last week, and then when you do the Access pant this week, before I get into what I'm talking about here, do you guys put on your pants and then your skates, or is it skates and then your pants? Because that will take us down the path that I want to go on. Hutch, first.
Well, I used to be pants and then skates. Then I became a beer league player, and I noticed some of the more portly guys in the room had adapted to skates first and then pants, because you can actually bend over without having to hold your breath and tie your skates up.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, I'm defeated. I've reached that age. I'm a skates and then pants guy. And I was kind of embarrassed, but I'm ready to live with it. And then we saw Carey Price going skates before pants. And I felt vindicated.
There's
and now
nothing wrong with it.
There's now a completely different reason to do it. It's because the best goalie in the world does it. So I'm going to do it that way. There you go.
Woody?
I'm the other way.
Woody'd never heard of either.
What?
What do you mean? There's a different way to get dressed?
That's right.
No, I got the pants on first, whatever, undergarments, jock, knee pads, pants over top, and then the skates last. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, if you're putting your jock on last, then I've got a real concern for you. But
that's after you take a few in the head.
Yeah, I'm definitely skates and then pants. Just it's more comfortable, easier. Why not make it easier? And then so the leg width of pants would really impact me, because you're trying not to rip your pants. You're putting them on all the time.
Could have had a demo in the store. How do you have to wear your gear? How do you have to get dressed to wear this particular brand?
9-inch, you could 9-inch barrel on that Vaughn pant, sticking a skate down that thing. I'm thinking especially a sharp skate. I'm thinking you're asking for a.
Yeah, you could wear your guards like the.
No, I think you can do it. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, obviously, Carey's in the 9-inch barrel and he's doing it. So there you go.
I can't. We got Woody thinking. Woody, do you think you'll ever try it?
No.
Skates. As soon as you do, I tell you this, you feel a lot better about yourself.
Oh, and you can breathe for the warm up. Yeah. It's
again, guys, my pants are oversized. The inner belt is loosened up. There is no like I'm not saying I'm skinny, because I ain't, but I can get there because
you'll never go back.
The pants are But the other thing is, let's be honest. There's a coordination issue here to stepping into your pants while wearing your skates, and I would somehow find a way to screw it up.
Amazing what we've come to. There's different ways to get dressed. I wonder what Bernie would say about this conversation when we talked to him about skate saves and fiberglass masks. And
he would have hung up 5 minutes ago.
Good. Hey, call Ben when you're ready to talk real stuff. So we have Bernie Perrant, our feature interview this week, brought to you by Sense Arena VR, Hutch. And Sense Arena has really established itself in a short period of time.
Yeah, it sure has. It's amazing how fast it's taking hold in all the places it's popping up in the game, and Woody can tell you about some of those. But as a few folks saw on our Instagram this week, Dylan Garand, who's going to be playing with the Canadian junior team at the Worlds this year, shared his True gear with us and did a little walkthrough for folks. And in that conversation, he and I talked quickly about Sense Arena, because the Canadian team had just taken delivery of some sets, and Dylan had literally at that point 20 minutes in them, and but was really impressed by how realistic it was. He said, the shots are so hard, I think I missed the first 50 that were taken on me. Although, caveat, I mean, remember, if you saw in the review, I talked about how you have to be careful where you're actually using this thing, and here he is in a small hotel room and trying to avoid banging his hands into the walls as he's making these virtual saves. But yeah, no, it's really taking the world by storm, and I think people are seeing it for what it is. It's just it's a new tool. It's a new tool that does things that we haven't been able to do before, to work on our tracking, to work on our reads away from the rink when we're away from the ice in a very realistic way. And we're super excited about what we've seen, eh, Woody?
Yeah, and as we've heard from NHL goaltenders, pro goaltenders that have tried Sense Arena virtual reality training, work on their hands too. They really feel like it allows them to sort of keep those hands active. And, I know that's one thing that Jason LaBarbera, who we had on last week, was excited about in terms of being able to get this product into the Hockey Canada guys, especially at a time when they might not be able to get on the ice, right? With the quarantines and some of the issues. Unfortunately, we sold too many sets during Black Friday. They couldn't get them there fast enough because all the ones we sold because of the popularity of this product. But other teams, I think we've seen the German goalies at the World Juniors have been trying it. Czech Republic has some sets. So, clearly from the best in the world at the World Junior level, that 20 under level, right up to the National Hockey League, Bill Ranford, multiple sets for the LA Kings. This is a product that has legitimacy as a training tool for goaltenders. Virtual reality, I think, is here to stay for goaltenders. And the other aspect, Hutch, that we haven't talked about today is there are brain training tools here. Like we've talked a lot in other episodes and over the past 2 years about some of these cognitive training tools. Other companies that have things you can do online to train your eyes, to train your brain. A lot of those same programs or similar type programs are built right into this virtual reality program. So it's not just that you can stop actual pucks with this thing. You can also do some of the other elements and sort of combine a lot of that training without having to buy this program and that program and this program and that program. One program will solve a lot of those issues for you.
There's so many different ways to improve your game right now, and it keeps breaking new ground, it seems like, every week. There was a day, gentlemen, when if you're struggling with your goaltending game, you had very few options. Maybe one of those would be lean on your mentor, who just happened to be your goalie partner. And that's what happened to Bernie Parent, a Hockey Hall of Famer, a legend, and now an in-goal friend. Bernie Parent from the Philadelphia Flyers joins us on In Goal Radio, the podcast, the feature interview presented by Sense Arena VR. Enjoy. Anybody of the era knows Bernie Parent's game. Any of the people that came afterwards know from the stats, but let's all dive into the very beginning, Bernie. How did you become a hockey player? How did you become a goaltender?
Well, my Lord, that's going way back. I think Moses was alive then. That's a long time ago.
Was he shooting on you?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to make a few stops. But anyway, I was about, a youngest of 7 kids living in Montreal. And I wanted to be a defenseman. Think about this. So when I was about 13, I had 2 brothers and the sisters, and I finally got the skates, all the way down. It was my turn, and I wanted to be a defenseman, so I put the equipment on. And then in those days, we played outdoor rinks, so you had to go around the rink once. And depending on your speed, then the coach would give you a position. So most of the players did in 13, 14, 15 seconds. Now my turn came. Wow, let's get ready, boys. And I did mine in 21 seconds. So the coach looked at me and said, goaltender. That's how I became a goalie. Now, think about this. The first game I played, because I had never played on skates, because we played in those days, people have to remember that the ice remained in the streets for 3 or 4 months in Montreal. They didn't have the chemical by then at that time. So I played the first game, and they scored 22 goals against me. So the coach looked at me and said, out of here, right? and I knew I didn't have good balance. So I decided to practice in the street with my buddies, put the skates on and play a goal. So 5 weeks, think about this, 5 weeks later, I received a phone call from the coach, and his goaltender got hurt. So he said, "You want to give it one more chance?" I said, "Sure." And we won the game, and bingo, then I was on my way. How about that?
Doing the math there, Bernie, you didn't start skating until 13?
No, that's right. and even in my prime, I couldn't skate. I had good balance. I had good balance. As a matter of fact, people keep saying goaltender has to be a good skater. Not really. What you need good balance. If you had good balance, then you have a good shot at it.
So how did it take the next step from 13 to the next couple of years, getting on the radar to place a little bit of junior?
Well, I played. Then I ended up with the team. How I got there, I look back. I don't really remember, but I got in with the Rosemont hockey team in Montreal, and then played for them for 2 years, and we won the championship the second year. Right, and things were going well. We had a good team, because let's face it, when you play well, it's because you have a good team. If you don't have a good team, then it's very difficult to play well. And then when I was 17, 18, then I got drafted by the Bruins, the Boston Bruins. And then it was very exciting, So and then I ended up in Niagara Falls. That was cool.
Did you like playing goal, or was it just that was your spot that you were assigned?
I loved it. Little that I knew at the time, it was my imagination, working, anticipating the shots, left-hand shot, right-hand shot. But I didn't have the foundation to realize what I was doing. But this is, in my mind, this is what I was doing. And I love outthinking, I guess, a shooter. Making the saves, the whole bit. Making saves, playing in goal is pretty good. You just stand there. You don't have to chase the puck all the time. It's a beautiful thing.
But it was cold outdoors.
Yep. It was cold. I remember my mom, God bless her, she would, in the outdoor rinks, it would pile up the snow along the boards, so people would stand, just above the board. And she'd be there with her big fur coat, the hat, the boots on. Never missed a game. That was awesome.
Oh, wow. It took great courage to play then.
Yeah. It's
the gear you were wearing and no helmets, and where did that come from?
Well, you know what? The gear, the equipment was supplied by the township. So you didn't have to buy it. It was it was given to you, while you played. And look back, was it good? I don't know. I guess it was. I'm still alive, So, but but it was here we go, guys. Before I went to Niagara Falls, I'd miss a lot of days, school days, because I was on the ice practicing, and that was my vision. And I think at the time my vision was to play in the National Hockey League. And when you have a vision like this, then you're willing to do anything. And I remember my mom taking me to the teacher at that time, and the teacher looked at my mom, looked at me, looked at my mom, and said, "I'm sorry, but your son doesn't have a chance in life." So true story.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And then later on, was a fairly young guy. And then later on, I got a chance to show the 2 Stanley Cup, and I said, it's like Einstein said so many times, imagination is more important than education.
You had to battle through a couple of things then. Between that little bit of news and then the coach cutting you after the first game and being assigned, like you got through a couple of bumps.
Oh yeah. And think about this: when I got drafted by Boston, then I was 18, and I had to go to Niagara Falls, which was a farm team, and I couldn't speak English. And I remember, picking up my suitcase, went to the train station by myself, and I went to Niagara Falls. And many times, people have asked me, "Why did you go to Niagara Falls? You could have stayed home and could have done something else. And at that time, I said it was more powerful at that time. I said, because my vision was to play in the National Hockey League. And I shared this with young kids because when you have a vision like this, it pushes you to go through a lot of things to reach your goal.
Your hero growing up as a goaltender was?
Jacques Plante.
Yes.
Jacques Plante. I did not watch him play every Saturday night, at home, and was just awesome. And the beauty about him was his sister lived next door to us in Montreal. Okay, and I remember once every summer, one time he would visit his sister. They have a big convertible, big car, and he would come in. I'd be sitting in front of the window of my house, and I watched him. He would come out of the car. He had the big hat on, a cigar. And you walk, we would walk, towards to see his sister, which is just incredible. What a beautiful thing. And then think about this. You're talking about how life, when you have a vision, life will provide you with great opportunities to make it happen. And then when I got traded 2 years with the Flyers, I got traded to Toronto. And that's when Plante was playing. And that was a blessing. He turned my career around.
How did he do that?
Well, first of all, I asked him because I watch him practice. I watch him play, and I said, "My Lord, it's you're right there. You're watching him sitting on the bench." And I said, "Man, you're so good." I said, "Can you teach me?" He said, "Sure." So, what I learned from him basic was at times I was doing this, but I wasn't aware that I was doing it. If you have a left-hand shot versus a right-hand shot, how do you position yourself? Always position yourself where the puck is, not where the man is, because the man will see the opening, but the puck won't. If you play that way, it's a beautiful thing. And how each defenseman, you have 5 or 6, how they play certain players, how they play a left-hand shot, how they play a right-hand shot. Then it helps you to anticipate better as far as making you move and be at the right place at the right time.
Did he help you technically as well?
Oh yeah. They, talking about position. Was very, very, very important. How to know where you're at as far as where the net was concerned. And then on the left-hand side, I was always fill the post with the left end. And if I was on the right side, I would fill the post with the butt, the end of my stick. And it would give me an idea where I'm at and where the play is. And that understanding of the game, which is just incredible.
It's remarkable that it sounds like it was the first instruction you'd received, and you're in the National Hockey League at that point.
Yeah, first time. And when I played for Boston, those 2 years started in '65. You have to remember we were in last place those 2 years when I was there, and we only had 6 teams. And then the average of a hockey player, the average age of a hockey player was older then. More of like the late 20s. Maybe 30. You had a lot of experience out there, so it was very, very difficult. And think about this: the first year, I went to a training camp for Boston, and I was 20, and they sent me to Oklahoma, the farm team, and in front of me they had Ed Johnston and Jerry Cheevers. So, in those days, you couldn't negotiate like you do now. So if you're not lucky, you could spend 10 years in the minors, not going anywhere. And that year, 5 weeks into a season, think about this, the 2 goalies got hurt at the same time. So they called me, and then I stayed up with the Bruins. How about that?
What would you do in the summer to prepare for a season as we sit here and get ready for a season in a unique time?
Fish. If you look at the players, you look at the games, even not as far, before I played, but even when we played, and you look at the speed and you look at the players today, there's no comparison. I mean, we were good. Don't misunderstand me, but the speed of the players today is just incredible. So for us, what we did is we used a training camp to get in shape. How about that? Today they keep in shape the whole year round. But the difference is, in those days you make 25,000. Today they make 25 million. It helps you to stay in shape. Yeah.
Yeah. You can afford a lot more fish after you're done instead of during your career.
No kidding.
Well, fishing has to help with your balance, which you said is the most important thing. I mean, standing up in that tippy boat, it's great training.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've always loved offshore, fishing. And to me is, think about this, guys. When you go out the inlet, you get in the ocean. On the other side, where land is about 3,000 miles away. So it's a big lake, and there's magic in that ocean. It's a beautiful thing. Love it. That's my passion. I love it.
And magic on the frozen water as well. When you stepped on the ice, what were you thinking? What was or did you have a thought process how you approached every game?
Well, it was pretty well the same because I've learned from Blount again, and it became my approach. My philosophy is don't figure out what the player is going to shoot. Position yourself, and more likely he's going to hit you or miss the net. It's very, very important because the players, they're smart players. National Hockey League, they'll change their minds the last second. And then you're in the wrong place, the wrong position, and then you have problems. Chances are they're going to score. But if you depend just on your style, then you move along with whatever the adjustment that you have to make, whatever the players doing with the puck.
Why didn't you take your mask off when you skated to the net and back?
Well, yeah, listen, look at this face.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know what? I won't go in details, but I had to keep the mask on. Yeah. Life was good. Yeah, life was good.
Who was the toughest player to face back in the day? Which guys did you think about as they were coming down on you, whether it's practice or games?
Well, I'd say the game. Let's go with the games. And to me, it was Bobby Hull. Bobby Hull was clocked at 120 miles an hour. Think about this. Nobody has even, some guys have done 105, I think, or whatever, but nobody has done 120 miles an hour. And I remember him. Yeah, I'm 20 years old, 21. And I remember him coming across the blue line. And that's the beauty about when you're young like this, you don't have as much fear. He would come, big shoulders, and would come across the blue line, and just between the blue line and the circle, he would wind up. And I looked at him, he looked at me, then everything became in slow motion. It's just how powerful he was. Then I would put my catching glove in front of my face, and I'd say, God, let him score, will you? and you know what? Quite a few times he missed the net, hit that last behind me, and Glenn Hull had to make the save at the other end. So that was very dangerous. I'm very fortunate to be alive today. That's for sure.
Were you nervous? Were you confident? How would you describe your mental feeling during a game?
Well, during a game, I learned again from Blount to just concentrate on your system, and of course, I would say against better teams, then you concentrate a little bit more, which it doesn't make it right, but that's the way it was, at the time. And it was, it was always, my focus was always the night before the game. I would spend, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours thinking about different players, a different position, what they would do, where it should be, what it should be doing, and what to anticipate and stuff like this. I did my homework the night before. And then when the game came, it all came back, and it made the game much easier for me.
Were you a talker during the game?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's I've learned that from Blount again. It's very important. You if the puck's in the corner, you have a defenseman chasing the forward, and because a lot of guys are focused on that corner where the puck is. Well, I lean against the post, but I'm almost facing the front. And then I had pretty well idea where an open guy is. It could be getting the puck, and then you communicate, shout to your defenseman because it's loud in that rink, and look behind you, somebody's open or whatever, and it really made a big difference. Yeah.
What about cracking jokes and things like that? Because you're a pretty funny guy.
Well, yeah. I think even in life, humor is very important, and you become what you think about, And I love to have fun in life, and my philosophy is if something is not very funny, you let it come, don't fight it, let it come, let it go through, and then start focusing on happy thoughts again. And that's that's what I did on the ice. We're friends. Let's face it. And I share this with kids all the time. You don't win in life by yourself. You learn this in sports. In my case, was hockey. If you're going to win, you're going to win as a team. It's very, very important. And in the world of business, is the same way. So you learn some good basic things in sports that really helps you in the future, the business world.
Did you play whenever you wanted under Freddie, or was there a system in place there?
No, I would play, I think with Freddie, I would play like 70, 72 games, right? And Bobby Taylor would play, I don't know, 6 games. The chief, we call him. We were good friends. Yep. We were good friends. And every time I went out the dressing room, the players would say, true story, they called me Ben at the time, Ben. And they say, hey, Ben, how many goals tonight? Depending how I felt, said maybe 1 or 2, right? And then when Taylor played, they would ask him, how many goals do you need tonight, Chief? He said about 7.
That's Bobby for it.
Oh yeah, it's good man, good friend, good people. Yeah.
What was Freddie like as a head coach?
Freddie was good. First time I met him when I got traded back to from Toronto to Philly. Freddie came up to me and always adjusting his glasses. If you recall, it's always that way. And he looked at me and shook his hand and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I don't know anything about goaltending. You're on your own." Yes, awesome. That was cool. Oh God, that was cool. But you're talking about then quickly, guys. When and I tell the young kids too, people take chances, which is called. I had a book that came out a few years back, Risk and Fear. Yeah. Now think about this. When I was with Toronto, this is when the World Hockey League came in. Okay, and at the end of the second season, I received a phone call from the World Hockey League if I was interested in joining the league, the World Hockey League. And I said, let me think about it. I thought about it, and I said, after a while, I said, everything I had learned from Blount, I said, if it doesn't work out, I'll come back to Toronto. Well, it didn't work out for different reasons. So I came back, and think about this. The risk that I took to go to the World Hockey League versus the safety of Toronto National Hockey League, which had been in existence for 80 years or 100 years or whatever, was a big risk. And but then when I came back, the same day, Toronto traded me back to the Flyers. And then I ended up with the team that won 2 Stanley Cups the following 2 years. Think about this. If I would have played it safe, I would have never been in Philly.
Or Leaf fans would be celebrating.
That's a possibility. Yeah, sure. I have. We had some good players, some good friends on that team. Yeah.
And you're still working with the Flyers today?
And I'm not doing much now with the Flyers. We just my concentration is on fishing. So,
Well,
yeah. So now you know what? It gets to a point where, and also, it's difficult to work with the goalies today. For me anyway, because the way we played in those days. Today, I think if you look at the equipment, and I'm so grateful we played when the equipment we had, because you had more mobility, to move your hands, your skates, or your pads, or whatever. Today, and you had to make the saves. And today, the equipment is so bulky, and they're great goalies. Don't misunderstand me. They're awesome, but they play a different style. They drop because they don't have the luxury to move the legs or arms around like we used to, because the equipment's so bulky. But the difference is, a big difference that I see is, in our days, when you make the save, you have better chance to control the rebound. When you drop to your knees, you're more like you're blocking the shot. And when you block the shot, then the rebound most of the time will end up in front of you. So it's a big adjustment. But like I said, it's a different time. And how would I work with the goalies in a situation like this? It's better to say thank you very much for the opportunity, good old Lord, that I had throughout my life, and it's time for somebody else to take over.
Bernie, I get more impressed as the years go on when I watch the clips, how you could make a skate save from 30 feet and be so dialed in on it. I just fascinated by it. So what went into that?
Well, I get more impressed myself too when I see it. Well, you know what? When I had learned from Smythe again that as you're playing goal, you always have. For me, the way I played was to have more weight on my right leg than the left leg. Then it allows me to move left and to move right more better, because if I stand, if I put evenly the weight on both the feet, then it's very difficult to make the move, because you don't have the luxury to move side to side. But if you just concentrate on putting more weight on one leg, then it opens up everything. The movement is much easier.
Were you tough?
Oh, was I tough? I was as tough as my players were.
Then you were pretty tough.
That's a tough team.
Yeah. You know what? I got involved at one time with Dave Ballon. Remember Dave?
Yeah.
Remember him, Dave? Yeah. And he corked me pretty good. And I said, you know what? I learned a lesson very quickly. I said, let the players do the fighting. And I had some good players to do that. So that was the end of it. Yeah.
Random question for you. After one of your cups, and I can't remember whether it was the first or the second, you wore the patches of the Stanley Cup on the sweaters that next season. Why did you do that? And was that a team thing or is that a league thing?
No, it was a team thing. Yeah, it was. And
I'd love for them to do it now. So I'm just curious.
Yeah,
to do it.
Yeah, they. You know what? It's. Hey, first of all, you deserve it. You win the championship. You win the Stanley Cup. You know what's a beautiful thing to have, and in addition to this, and it's a good reminder also that every time you put that jersey on, you're a Stanley Cup winner, and it gets you ready for the following year. So it's you know what, in hockey, especially in goal, it's such a head job. It's very, very important. And if you stay healthy and you do your homework, then and you have a good team, then most of the time good things will happen.
What was the hardest thing about playing goal in the 70s? What might a goaltender today be surprised about or find difficult?
Well, in the old days, I don't know. That's a good question. I would probably reverse the question to today. Today, the way they're shooting, here's an example. If I played, okay, let's say if I'm playing a right-hand shot coming on the right side, just the middle of the circle, and he takes a shot. And if I'm playing the puck, because a defenseman I had, and we understood that when the guy comes down here like this, you play the man, I'll play the puck.
Mhm.
Okay, so then more likely I'll know where the puck is going to go and I'll make the save. But if you only have, like in the old days, if I would give the shooter, let's say 4 or 5 inches above my shoulders, on left side, 9 out of 10 times he would miss the net that hit me. And in today's world, the way they're shooting is, my God, 9 out of 10 times they'll score. They're very good today. I watch those guys, the way they're playing, the way they're skating, and the way the game is playing today. It's it's different. Quickly, we had 2 defensemen, okay, and the defensemen had half of the ice, okay, and each circle belonged to them, okay, and if the puck of the player went on the other side, the defenseman would stop, and the other defenseman would pick them up, right?
Mhm.
But in today's world, you don't have this anymore. They're crisscrossing, and they're you're very difficult for a goalie to understand. That's why I salute those guys today, because it's not an easy job to play National Hockey League today. They're good. The players are good, but
Yep.
the system is a big difference.
It sounded like Freddie had a pretty good system, though. I mean, I got the sense that he was ahead of the game at the time.
Well, yeah, Freddie was, he had 2 rules. Number one is the team has a system and stick within the system. And number 2, which is very important, if you had the chance to escape and create a 2-on-1, then you didn't follow the number 1 rule. You went ahead and create that 2-on-1 to create a good opportunity. And also in practice, I'll never forget, defensively, we would spend I'll bet a half hour every day on coming out of our zone, and we had 4 different ways to come out, depending on how the team would forecheck us.
Mhm.
And I could have sat on my net, with the gloves off and smoking a cigar, and wouldn't be afraid. That's how good we were, because for a half hour every practice, that's what we practice. Yeah.
Hey, did you ever get that big hat and the convertible and the cigar that Jacques had?
No, because Plante is the king, and I came up underneath him, but Plante is the king, so he deserved the car and the hat. Yeah.
What was that appearance at the outdoor game like for you, to walk back out there again with the equipment on?
That
playing
was
game?
that was awesome. That was awesome. To first of all, to get on the ice, and we practiced a little bit, but my God, what was it, 10 years ago? And to step on the ice. And at the time, outdoors, we had like 45,000 people cheering. And that feeling that I had when I played came right back. Can you believe that? It came right back and said, wow, this is awesome. So I told the coach, I said, I'm going to play 5 minutes, and that's it. Okay, 5 minutes. So I'm watching the clock. We're playing, there's about 10 seconds left in the game. I'm watching the clock, and I have a shutout going. I have shutout because they were coming to me, with their shots. And I looked down again, and I said, my God, here comes Duguay on the breakaway. I said, I'm like this. I said, Lord, what are you doing to me? I got 10 seconds to go, right? He comes down and shot on my pads on purpose. Think about this. And of course, the crowd went crazy, like I made a great save. And it wasn't a great save. He shot on my pads. And I asked him after, before the face-off, I said, why'd you do this? Because I do, right? And he said, my God, he said, there's no way I would have gotten out of Philly alive, for God's sake, if I would have scored.
Seeing you out there and the mask is so memorable. But it was a simple mask, like the 3 stickers, and but it was you. Was that you? Like, just to have the 3 stickers, or? Oh
yeah. Well, if you look at the first Stanley Cup when we won in '74, we only had the And I'll show you here. I have a mask here behind me. If I could show you. There we go. Okay. Yeah. And now you have 2 stickers on this mask. Okay. Now the 1974, when we beat the Bruins, I only had 2 stickers. And 1975, I had 3. 1 on each side and 1 on top now. So they and then the mask. There's a little quick story about this. The mask was made in Toronto, and so before practice, one day we're in Toronto for a couple of days, and this individual came in to set up the mask, and they have to mold it to your face. Okay, and then think about this. It's funny now, but it wasn't then. And then they put 2 straws in front of your mouth, and then they cover your eyes. They have to do the inside of your eyeball, right? And then a couple of times, players would come in and put their fingers on the straw. Think about this. Then I would pull the thing up, and it took about 3 hours to get the mask on, which it should have taken a half hour, for God's sake. Oh, that was funny, Good guys. Yeah.
As you look back on the career, Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe trophies, Vezina trophies, what are you proudest of? What do you remember the most fondly?
Well, it's something you remember from the beginning, what we've talked about, and I think about this sometimes, and what took me from a 14, 13-year-old kid to be part of an organization and a team that won 2 Stanley Cups, and let's face it, when you win trophies like this, a Conn Smythe or Vezina, I'm very proud to have my name on those trophies. But let's be realistic. You win in life with good people surrounding you. If you don't have a good team, you don't win those trophies. It's very important. But if you have a good team, and I have to say, you have a good goalie, good things happen. So when I look at my life today, I look at how this thing happened is I'm a good friend of the universe. Very, very good friend. And whatever you think about, whatever you're asking universe, just ask. It's very important here to share this. Ask the universe whatever you want once. That's all. And make it big. The universe is just like the ocean. If you get a cup of water, you won't change the ocean. So whatever you want to have in life, make it big, and then drop it. And then how, when, and where will be shown to you at the right place at the right time. That's a beautiful way to live.
It is. I saw some video of you visiting the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me wonder, you're so outgoing with the children. You didn't even give them a pause to want to talk to you. You just come and see me right now. Give me a hug. So open, so inviting. Did some of that harken back to your past when maybe you were a youngster and didn't have the courage to go up to Mr. Plant as he arrived next door to his sister's house, and you sort of didn't give the kids the opportunity to ever be too scared to talk to you, did you?
Yeah. You know what? That's you're right on with this, and with the children, hospital, the young kids. It's a beautiful thing when you come around and you put a big smile on the young people like this. There's no money that can buy this in the world. And my wife Jeannie does a tremendous job as setting things up like this, and it just is very difficult to explain, but it's a beautiful, so rewarding to hug a kid and see them smile. And like I said, there's no money that could duplicate that.
It's a great feeling. So is bringing in a tuna. How do you get into the fishing?
They when I was a kid, I used to fish in Canada. Lakes out north of Montreal, and then when I came to Philly, then I got introduced to the ocean, and that was right away. The first time I fished the ocean, I felt the magic in the ocean. That's a big body of water, and you see porpoises, you see whales, and you see mermaids, you see all kinds. No, but you see, it's such a beautiful, beautiful place to enjoy yourself. And again, I learned from a pro, and how to read the weather, which is very important, and the whole bit about the safety of the boat and stuff like this. So it's all comes down to every step that I take, whatever it's fishing now or different things in life. There's always somebody who did it before, and you find out who did it, what you're after, and who was successful at it, and then try to talk to them or duplicate them in some ways, and usually it turns out good.
Would you have liked to have been part of the shootout in your day?
No, that was quick answer. The reason I don't agree with this, never will, is because you win as a team and you lose as a team, and then you play for 60 or 70 minutes or whatever as a team.
60 and then the 3-on-3.
3-on-3, and then the one individual get lucky with the shot or whatever and wins the game. I don't agree with that. You win or you lose as a team.
Pretty active on social media, pal. Yeah.
My wife does a tremendous job, and it's a beautiful thing. Again, it's a team effort, and because let's face it, I haven't played for a while. It's been a while, and new generations came up, and if you don't go out there and present yourself or introduce yourself to the public, out of sight, out of mind, so it's very, very important to stay active, and she does a fantastic job. And you know what? And she's my agent, right? So she gets 40%. Now her mom gave her birth, so she gets 40%, and the dog gets 20, so I get nothing. Yeah.
Who's your favorite goalie now, or post play?
Well, you know what? A lot of good goalies have come along, but we have a fantastic young goalie today. A good combination. We have Hart and Elliott. Okay, there's about what 10, 12 years between them. Yeah, something like this, and there's no competition. So guys help each other, and you could see this kid when I first met him, and what is he, 6'1", I think, 175 pounds,
at least, yeah.
And I looked at him, and you could see in his eyes, that he's a winning goalie. They're going to win the Stanley Cup with him. Great goalie. Yeah.
Elliott and Hart reminds me of you and Conn in the age gap and being able to help each other.
It's just that I'm better looking than Hart, but we won't go there. Oh God, life is good. Huh?
Were there guys in your day, other goaltenders that you respected other than Plante?
Oh yeah. And when I played, or just watching, just watching.
Yeah, no, when you played, either way.
Yeah, they when I was watching, they had guys like Glenn Hull, Terry Sawchuk and Comp Horsley, Rangers, and they were just fantastic goalies. They played every night. They only had 6 teams, and when I played, you had so many, like Jack. I mean, for an example, for the Rangers, I played all my career against him, and to beat the Rangers, you had to be at your best. So you're playing against great goalies; they bring the best out of you. That's a beautiful thing.
Would you take anything from the guys that you played against as you moved along?
Oh yeah, because I always said, I always believe that guys that are playing National Hockey League is because they have talent, and everybody has this one little talent that is above everybody else, whatever it is, the way they handle the stick or the way they play the angles and stuff like this. And if you get something from each of those players that you're playing against, then that adds up quite a bit to your system.
You are rocking it
Who are you closest with on those teams in Philly, and are you still in touch with anyone?
I started the defenseman. Was very. We joke and we had good times, but when the game started, it was business, and then you have Schultz, who took care of problems if we had one. And we had, in our days, I believe we had the greatest leader in Bob Clark, that really made a big difference. So if you look at the puzzle here, we had all the pieces very well to win the championship. And
are you still in touch with them?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I take them out fishing. And also we had, I watch your games today, watch a game last year, and when there's nobody in the stands, and I feel bad, because it's such a big, it's an important factor as a player, because you're just like a performer on the stage. When you go on the ice and you have 22,000 people cheering, that's you work hard the whole year to get in good position to have the home ice advantage. It makes a big difference. Now you're playing on an empty building, and it's got to be very, very difficult for those guys to overcome that. I know they are, but it's got to take a lot of work to do it.
A couple of things before we let you go. Which ring are you wearing?
I'm wearing both. You see, 74 on the right hand and 75 left hand. Now, let me tell you something about this. Bill Gates, you guys heard of Bill Gates, right? He's worth $100 billion. Okay, can't buy these. You have to earn it. But I always said, if Bill Gates wants to come up to me and give me $20 million for each one, it's yours, baby.
How did you
Let's hope he's listening.
How did you get into business? Was it a natural transition? Because you're pretty good, and you've got a lot of different things going.
Well, you know what? When I ended my career, ended by an eye injury, the Flyers were so kind, to give me a position with the team, and then became the goaltender coach, which something I enjoy because I could apply, share with the goalies what I had learned from Blount, and everything worked out well. And then slowly I evolved in the business with some with the right people, some good people, and it's been a beautiful journey. It's when you trust people and you go and you associate yourself with the good people, good things happen.
Hutch, can I just jump in here to close off the interview? Is Jeannie around?
Yes.
Is she close? Can she jump into the frame here, because we want to thank her and acknowledge?
Of course. There you go.
As well.
There she is.
This is the first time we've done this.
Hi, how are you?
Jeannie, thank you so much for making sure that this happened. It's been just a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I was listening to most of it. It sounded great. You guys are awesome.
Listen, you're talking about a good vision. That's pretty good here, isn't it?
Yes.
What mermaids were you looking
Bernie,
for?
Don't wake up, Bernie. Don't wake up.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for everything.
Have fun. Biko, thank you, my friend.
Jeannie's the best. Absolute best. And Bernie, it's just appropriate. It's episode 99, and he's number one in my heart, and he's also Santa. He's got the white beard. He's perfect for this time of the year.
Yeah, he sure is. And we've seen even subsequently some photos of Jeannie and Bernie dressed up as Santa and Mrs. Claus, and had various events around Philadelphia. Did want to mention Jeannie's the best. And if you're interested, Bernie does have some memorabilia that he's got available. Some of the signed Time magazine covers and some signed replica masks. And their website isn't set up to handle it quite yet, but literally you can just email Jeannie at bernieparent.com. If you're interested in some of the memorabilia, you've probably seen some photos around. We'll have something with this show as well. But if you're a fan, great opportunity to get something from Bernie.
If you weren't a fan,
I sent my email in.
If you weren't a fan before that interview, you are now. I'm also a little bitter that I missed this one, and you guys are already going fishing with Bernie Parent. I'm going to come to Philly and just I don't know, like wave to you guys.
No, this is
wave to you guys
this
from
is
the
gonna be
dock.
like the Vegas thing. It's going to be like you shutting me out of Vegas trips. You're not coming. Just stay home.
I love the fact that
away.
Hutch didn't even give him a chance to joke around. It was like, you guys come out fishing next, and Hutch was like, we're in. There was no laughter after that one. We're in before you had a chance to take a breath. But
I don't even really like fishing all that much. I just want to hang out with Bernie.
Hang out with Bernie. Like the way he influenced Pelle Lindbergh, and you go through that story. It's a real connection, both Bernie to his mentor in Jacques Plante, and then Pelle to his mentor in Bernie Parent. There's an incredible synergy there.
Well, you know what? Like, I'm probably jumping the gun here to tease one of our guests in the next couple of weeks as we come up to episode 100, and we've got a couple options, and we're still juggling. But one of the guys we'll be talking to in the very near future, Francois Allaire, talked to me about Pelle Lindbergh and the ties to Patrick Waugh and some of the style elements that Patrick Waugh was asked to use in Montreal that he went away from with Francois Allaire because he wanted to do it his way. The Habs asked him to be like Lindbergh, who had been influenced by Parent very much I don't say old school, but in that more stand-up style. Yeah. And Patrick wanted to be doing it a little differently. And in Allaire, he had a coach that was the perfect fit for that. So in that constant evolution and the synergy from one style to the next, fascinating to have had that conversation earlier today with Patrick, and then hear you talking about Parent and Lindbergh, and to sort of see where the next iteration went with the Montreal Canadiens and into what we see now a lot more commonly. And yet, I'll leave it as an open tease. There is one thing that they all did well that hasn't changed from way back in those days to right now, that it remains a key to good goaltending in the words of Francois Allaire. And that's somebody we'll be hearing from real soon here on the In Goal Radio podcast.
The story about the outdoor game, the alumni game, and Ron Duguay having the breakaway, I was there. And it felt like the entire city stood up, but the entire stadium stood up. Like, oh my goodness, it's a breakaway on Bernie. And I absolutely remember that moment. Bernie fan, but also the theater of it. And then Hutch, you went back and watched that game.
I did. Yeah. No, Maddie and I were listening to the interview again, and we got to check this out. And you said Bernie's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the game, he's an incredible storyteller, because I think the breakaway comes in about halfway through his appearance, yeah. Right? And then he tells us the stories. There's 10 seconds left. And maybe to him, he was hoping there was 10 seconds left at that point. But what an amazing moment. That was so much fun to watch. And we got talking again. You talk about all this evolution. What's the next one? What kid is out there today,
right,
listening to this interview, who might end up on a team someday with Carter Hart, for example, and in Philadelphia? And
well, think about Carter Hart in the bubble, meeting Carey Price for the first time, and then ended up in that handshake line at the end after narrowly defeating his idol. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
There you are.
You guys are setting me up for another tease here. We're gonna have some equipment news coming up pretty soon. We might have Carey and the guy who idolizes him in an announcement here in the very near future. So dun dun dun, we'll leave that hanging.
So as we wait for that, we have to get ready for the big day, and we're counting down the minutes here, and we all get excited. We have our kids, so we're ready to go. And if there are people out there that have procrastinated, Hutch, is there anything we can do?
I don't know, guys. What could you do if it was last minute? This podcast is getting released 22nd, 23rd, so you're really running out of time. Hey, I know. Head over to ingoalmag.com. Gift subscriptions still available. We will deliver right up to Christmas Day. We'll do it boxing. You just order. We'll get it to who you need to get it to. You can download a gift certificate if you really want to have something to put in the stocking under the tree. Or if you didn't get the gift you want,
right,
you're listening to the podcast, you're sort of moping, sitting on the couch, a little sad for yourself. Nobody even needs to know that you went and subscribed, and you can sit there, hang out with a bunch of NHL guys, and learn how to play goal.
Little Johnny or Jackie not happy with what they got? You just forward that on to them. Say it's Boxing Day or the 27th. There you go. And they're not playing video games or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're educating themselves on the world of goaltending. I like that.
In the words of Elvis Merzlikins, if I had this website when I was a kid, I would be on it all day and all night.
And he's not joking around about that. Hutch, Woody, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you both. You've become great friends. And this is my favorite point of the week where we get to sit around and talk goaltending. We'll have to do the after hours version too. That includes what we talk about before and after the podcast when we're just shooting the breeze and none of us want to go back to real life. But make sure you guys are safe and happy and enjoy your time with your respective families.
Same to you, Darren.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks to Bernie Perrant. What a thrill that was. And to everybody at the Hockey Shop, thehockeyshop.com, source for sports, Cam and the whole crew. It's been a wild ride in 2020. We'll chat with you again one more time in this calendar year and then flip it over. The next time we chat, episode 100. You can't wait, I know, to see how we celebrate that milestone. It's going to be a big one. We'll chat with you again. Be safe.